This is the third home-based lesson on earthquakes. The lesson will focus on factors influencing the extent of earthquakes. You can also refer to pages 31 to 32 of your physical geography textbook. In this lesson, we are going to look at a few factors or reasons to explain for why some earthquakes are more damaging than others. Take some time to look at the following factors on this slide. How do you think they would affect whether one earthquake will be more damaging than another? Amongst all of these factors, which one would have the most damaging effect? Or would all of them have similar effects? The first factor will be magnitude, or also known as intensity of the earthquake. We have come across this term in Lesson 2, where we learned that magnitude refers to the amount of energy released during an earthquake. A bigger magnitude will have a greater impact on the land and the people compared to a small one. There are many examples of earthquakes with a high magnitude and low magnitude. On this slide, the high 9.2 magnitude that affected Aceh and the Andaman region in 2004 resulted in 228,000 deaths, while the lower 6.3 magnitude in Christchurch, New Zealand resulted only in 180 deaths. So what is the impact of a high magnitude? Well, when the magnitude is greater, there will be more damages which may result in a lot of infrastructure like buildings and bridges collapsing. There will be more casualty rates as people will be trapped. If help does not come early, these people may die. And on top of that, recovering from the earthquake can be costly. This means that many poorer countries may not be able to rebuild themselves fast enough to provide for their people. The second factor will be population density. The more people living in an area, the more damages that can occur during an earthquake. Urban areas like cities would have a densely populated area, and when an earthquake occurs, there will be more damages and casualties. Let's look at the two examples of earthquakes that hit Haiti and Chile in 2010. Even though the magnitude that hit Chile was higher at 8.8, the damages were lesser compared to Haiti. One of the reasons is because Haiti is more densely populated than Chile. As such, it experienced greater damages. Therefore, the impact of a higher population density on an area will be greater as there will be more people exposed to the vibrations during the earthquake, leaving them vulnerable to infrastructures like buildings collapsing. This can result in more deaths and injuries. Level of preparedness is the third factor. A country that is more prepared will definitely be able to reduce the damages of an earthquake. However, this requires the cooperation of both authorities and citizens. Examples of preparedness measures include having an evacuation plan and ensuring that there are trained rescue workers. When the people are prepared, they will be able to react rationally and the level of panic will be lower. A good example of a country that has an annual emergency exercise is Japan. This exercise is called Disaster Prevention Day, where everyone is involved in the various emergency drills. Why is being prepared very important? A country that is more prepared for an earthquake will be able to react faster to emergencies, and the buildings will also be able to withstand the tremors of the earthquakes. However, most of the time, the developed or richer countries are the ones who have the resources and technology, which gives the citizens more time to evacuate. With evacuation drills and trainings, the citizens will know how to respond to an earthquake, and this limits the casualty rates. There is also proper communication and will help rescue teams to save lives at a faster rate. An area that is near the epicenter will definitely experience a more severe earthquake. This is the fourth factor called distance from the epicenter. A good example of an earthquake will be the one that hit Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011. The epicenter was just a few kilometers from the city center. We have already learned in lesson 2 that the effects of an earthquake is lesser in locations away from the epicenter. This is because the energy is lost as the seismic waves spread away from the epicenter. Thus, the nearer an area is to the epicenter, it will experience the most violent shaking, which will lead to more damages to homes and buildings. The fifth factor is time of occurrence. The time at which the earthquake occurs is vital, as it depends on what people are doing during the time. The earthquake that occurred after midnight in Sun Moon Lake region in Taiwan in 1999 caused more than 2,400 people dead. Depending on the timing, the severity of the earthquake will be different. In a densely populated urban area, if the earthquake occurred at rush hour, it can be pretty devastating. People are basically out, and if infrastructure like roads, bridges collapses, it might lead to a lot of death. If it occurs at night, when people are sleeping, the reaction time might be slower, and this might lead to people being trapped in the collapsed buildings. The last factor is type of soil. When the soil is loose and unconsolidated, it can give rise to problems like liquefaction. Liquefaction occurs when the ground becomes unstable and saturated soil will flow like liquid. An example will be the liquefaction that took place in Christchurch in the 2011 earthquake. Many buildings had to be abandoned due to the liquefaction problem. With an unstable ground, buildings, roads, bridges will sink into the ground, resulting in many people trapped in the buildings or getting injured. On top of that, the repair works can be costly. The residents will have to be resettled to another location, and this will add on to more costs to the government. To find out more about liquefaction, you can visit the 2 links on this slide. We have covered all the 6 factors that influence the extent of an earthquake. Please note that you not only have to explain the factors, but must also be able to explain what kind of impact the factors have on the location and people living in the area. If you do want to have a quick recap of what we have learned so far on earthquakes, do visit the link on how much damage can earthquake do. Thank you and all the best.